Have you ever borrowed a friend's car, rented a vehicle on vacation, or driven a company car only to pull into a gas station and suddenly realize you have no idea which side the fuel cap is on? It happens more often than you'd think, but hidden right on your dashboard is a tiny symbol that solves this problem in seconds. Most drivers see it every day without ever noticing what it's trying to tell them. Today we're uncovering the story behind one of the most overlooked features in modern cars, the little arrow beside your fuel gauge, right here, on History of Simple Things. In the early days of automobiles, fuel gauges were surprisingly basic. Many cars didn't even have one. Drivers often measured fuel by dipping a stick into the tank or checking a simple mechanical indicator. As dashboards became more sophisticated throughout the mid-20th century, manufacturers introduced electric fuel gauges, making it much easier to estimate how much fuel remained. However, there was still one small inconvenience. Every car manufacturer placed the fuel filler on different sides of the vehicle. If you owned only one car, this usually wasn't a problem. But rental cars, family vehicles, and company fleets made the difference much more noticeable. That little triangle or arrow next to the gas pump icon has one job. It points to the side of the vehicle where the fuel filler door is located. If the arrow points left, your fuel cap is on the driver's side in left-hand drive cars. If it points right, it's on the passenger side. That's all there is to it. But that tiny reminder can save you from pulling up to the wrong side of the pump. Without the arrow, drivers often had to rely on memory or simply guess. Choosing the wrong side wastes time and can create awkward situations at busy gas stations, especially if the hose doesn't comfortably reach around the vehicle. Interestingly, this feature wasn't always standard. Throughout the 1980s and early 1990s, drivers often complained about forgetting which side their fuel door was on, particularly when switching between different vehicles. Rental companies experienced the problem frequently because customers drove unfamiliar cars every day. Around the mid-1990s, many manufacturers began adding the directional arrow to the fuel gauge display. While there isn't one single inventor credited with the idea, the feature gradually became an industry standard because it was inexpensive, easy to understand, and genuinely useful. Today, nearly every modern passenger car includes it, although a few older models still rely on other clues. Not every vehicle has the famous arrow. Some older cars simply display a gas pump icon without any triangle beside it. In many of these vehicles, the position of the pump handle in the icon offers a clue. If the hose is drawn on the left side of the pump symbol, the filler door is often on the left. If it's shown on the right, the fuel door is usually on the right. However, this isn't an official rule. Different manufacturers design their dashboard graphics differently, so the pump handle trick doesn't always work. If there's no arrow, the safest option is still to check before pulling up to the pump. It might seem logical for every manufacturer to place the fuel filler in exactly the same location, but engineering isn't that simple. The position depends on many factors, including the shape of the fuel tank, the routing of exhaust components, suspension layout, crash safety requirements, and available space beneath the body. Vehicle designers also consider manufacturing efficiency and packaging. Since every model has a unique structure, Placing the filler on one universal side isn't practical. That's why you'll find perfectly good reasons for cars with left-side fillers and equally good reasons for those with right-side fillers. With modern cars featuring navigation systems, digital dashboards, and even self-parking technology, it's easy to assume a tiny fuel gauge arrow has become outdated. But in reality, it's just as useful today as it was when it first became common. Millions of people still drive rental cars while traveling, borrow vehicles from friends or family, or switch between multiple cars for work. In those moments, drivers often have only a few seconds to line up at a fuel pump, especially when stations are crowded. The arrow provides an instant answer without requiring a menu, voice command, or smartphone app. It's a perfect example of good user-centered design, simple, intuitive, and always available, even if the car's infotainment system isn't. Sometimes the most effective technology isn't the most advanced. It's the feature that quietly solves a common problem with a single glance. The fuel gauge arrow may be tiny, but it's an excellent example of thoughtful design. It doesn't make the car faster, more powerful, or more luxurious. Instead, it quietly removes a minor frustration that millions of drivers experience. Many of the best engineering ideas work exactly this way. They solve everyday problems so smoothly that people barely notice they're there. The arrow requires no instructions, no owner's manual, and no special technology. One quick glance at the dashboard gives you the answer instantly. The next time you climb into an unfamiliar car, take a second to look at the fuel gauge before heading to the gas station. That tiny arrow is doing more work than most people realize. It's a simple solution born from decades of automotive evolution and thoughtful design, helping drivers avoid confusion with nothing more than a small triangle. Sometimes, the smartest innovations aren't the biggest or the most expensive. They're the ones hiding in plain sight. And now, you'll never have to guess which side your fuel door is on again. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.